if there was a TV show that hooked adults, was appropriate for kids, and both of you looked forward to watching together every week? Well, now there is. It's called the Wingfeather Saga, a best-selling fantasy book series that 8,000 families made into a record-breaking animated series. And now we need your help to fund Season 2 and beyond. The Wingfeather Saga is epic like Lord of the Rings, witty like The Princess Bride, and full of truth like The Chronicles of Narnia. And thanks to funding from people like you, we were able to hire a team of over 70 incredible artists with experience at studios like DreamWorks, Pixar, Valve, and others to join executive producer J. Chris Wall.
Hey, who worked on the global hit VeggieTales for over a decade and was a producer at DreamWorks Animation. Andrew Peterson is the other executive producer. He wrote the book, so we were like, I guess you can be involved.
Thanks for inviting me. Not only did I write the books, but I've been involved in the show's writing and in the animation process just to make sure that the magic that is in the books makes its way onto your family's screens. Oh, I think I lost somebody there.
So if you want to help create a TV series that shows families are stronger together rather than apart, invest in the Wingfeather Saga today.
And yeah, I changed my accent. Get over it.
Investing in the Wingfeather Saga means you'll be getting in incredibly early on what could be the next smash hit fantasy series. Imagine investing in Harry Potter before the movies came out. And the toys and the costumes and the video games, the theme parks, and oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. We hope Wingfeather goes global, and if it does, there may never be another chance to invest again. Season 2 is where the world of Wingfeather really takes off. Plus, the books have over 15,000 reviews, with an average of 4.8 stars. Here are just some of the thousands of 5-star reviews of the Wingfeather Saga.
Book 2 really grabbed me into wanting to read more.
Andrew Peterson has mastered the combination of humor, suspense, and depth of meaning.
Each book kept getting better until its powerful conclusion.
That's why we want to bring you Season 2 as quickly as possible.
Now, this isn't some amateur Kickstarter by a bunch of hipsters.
We've partnered with Angel Studios, who has helped filmmakers crowdfund over $30 million. And investing in Wingfeather through the Angel funding platform is unique because audiences become owners of the show and share in the profits. So if you want an epic TV series without disrobed damsels and dismembered dudes, invest in the Wingfeather Saga today. As with any investment, you should only invest as much as you're willing to lose. The phrase family friendly usually means content that is friendly for kids and stupid for adults. But not anymore.
There once was a show of fantasy, an epic show for the family, a TV series kids enjoy that won't drive parents insane. Invest now in Wingfeather, your family will thank you forever. And the show's really clever, you can watch the short film now. Now click on the link and help us to create Wingfeather Season 2. We just can't make it without you, so let's get started now. Na 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 da 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 da.
Hey everybody, afternoon.
Right.
What's up, Andrew?
What's up? Good
I'm
to see
Chris, executive producer of the animated series. If we haven't met, this is Andrew.
Hello, I'm Andrew, if we haven't met. I wrote these darn books and am involved in this darn thing. Sorry, I'm talking weird. It's just after hearing Chris in the pitch video with all of his accents, it makes me want to try it.
I know. So, Andrew, where are you at?
Well, it's good to see you.
You are not here in Nashville, so you are traveling.
Yes. We are traveling right now. We are over in the UK and came over for Hutchman and had some shows and that kind of thing. So we are here right now, which is why the time change is kind of weird. We just finished eating dinner and you guys are in the middle of your day. But yeah, we're excited to be here. Excited about today's special guest. Oh boy, oh boy.
I know, it's going to be fun. Well, we are just thrilled, everybody, with the response. So last week on this live stream, we got to release our first official teaser trailer. You guys have just rallied to it. It's been just so exciting. 32,000 views, something like this, on it so far, just on YouTube. And just the responses and the posts and the comments are really, there it is. Thank you. And thank you for sharing it with your friends and tagging people. That's been super cool. Andrew, you've gotten to kind of see it from afar over there. What's been your kind of most excited response you've seen?
It's funny. We talked yesterday, and I told you that my thumbs were getting tired from refreshing the screen. Just because so much of this has been like, we've been in the garage working on the car, so to speak, and to be able to finally have this trailer out there and see it be shared as much as it is has been so tremendously satisfying. And to see the reaction that it's gotten has been really satisfying. It makes me really proud of the team. Anyway, there's just been I think probably my favorite comments, there have been a few on YouTube from people who said that they were completely unfamiliar with the Wingfeather Saga. They'd never read the books. They just happened upon the trailer and it looked really cool and they couldn't wait to see the show. And that tells me that we're on the right track. It's really fun to think of as much, like, I love that we've got this little army of Wingfeather fans, these people who love the stories and have been helping us make this thing. But then to think about the millions upon millions of people out there who don't know the story yet, and they're going to experience it for the first time in this way, is thrilling too.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more in a minute, folks, about some of that story and what kind of story you're being invited into if you're not familiar with Wingfeather Saga. Today is the day we're going to give you some inside look at that. Last week as well, we went live with another funding round. So we are a crowdfunded production. Last year, we raised $5 million to start the production of the animated series. And so in 1 week, right at 900,000, 894,450 has been raised, which is just amazing. We're in this gap between season 1. We announced releases December 2nd with the first episode. And so we want to get going season 2. We're actually in pre-production on season 2. And so we're opening a little funding round right now to help get that going so there's not a delay. And we hope to get season 2 out to you within a year. So we're hoping for next fall to early winter to have season 2 available. And that means we got to start now. Animation production takes a long time. And so to allow that to happen, we're doing a little funding round right now. And so that'll be active through the end of this month. So August 31st, we'll close that out. And we're just so happy to see the response, people that are willing to come in and invest in the show. When you're doing that, you're buying shares in our company. So if you've seen public offerings of your favorite company, whether that's Tesla or whatever, you're buying shares in our production company that's making Wingfeather Saga series, and you get to own the series with us. The cool thing with this partnership with Angel Studios and Angel Funding is that it allows fans to become owners. So it's not a donation. I think that's one thing that, Andrew, I know we've heard that a lot, like, am I donating to this and getting a t-shirt? No, you're actually buying shares. We're selling them, and under the SEC, it's like a real official thing. One note I have heard from some folks, it is only available to U.S. residents. So that's kind of a bummer. But we've had families with kids, Andrew, like doing lemonade stands so they can get, and buy some shares in the company. And we actually sent out, the shareholders, those of you that are already investors with us, you're going to get this, but we made this really cool certificate that has your family name or your name on it, and then how many shares you have. It's kind of like the old Wells Fargo, thing that folks can print and say, yeah, we're a part of this journey with us. And you get to be with us for the whole run. So not just season 1, but season 2 and 3 and 4 and on the go. So that's available now. Again, it's through the end of the month. If you're interested in kind of supporting our show and want to see us do more of this, that's the way you can get involved. We also announced season 1's release of December 2nd. We have this really cool graphic, I think, we can show. Lily and the Dragon Song. That's your title, correct, Andrew?
It is. I think that's the title of the chapter in book 1 where that happens, which is kind of a nod to it. I love the fact that we're calling them chapters and not just episodes. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I love that. Stranger Things did that. Remember back in the day, that was kind of, it was like a clever, throwback thing. And of course, we're all talking about here the Wingfeather Saga Book 1, which is really what season 1 is based on the edge of the dark sea of darkness. Yeah, and so, there it is, Andrew. Chapter 10. It's right there. And so what's interesting, I'm just going to point out, don't worry, folks, we're not starting at the end of the book. It's like, wait, how far do we go?
Well, I was going to say the
I had
chapters are so short in the Wingfeather Saga that 10 chapters in and you're only on page 2.
That's right. That's one of my favorites as a dad reading aloud. Is Andrew was really clever to make the chapters short. So when I had younger guys, we could get through it. And he also made the chapters cliffhangers, folks. So if you haven't read it, your kids will want the next one, which is how we've made the episodes too, right? The episodes have the cliff of like, and what's happening next, which is super fun. So we've had the question, Andrew, where do I watch the show? And what we're telling everybody is just go to YouTube, go subscribe to our channel there, hit that notification bell so it'll ping you whenever we have new content. We're always posting stuff out there. That'll be the first place. Now we're going to ask you eventually to move over to join us on the Angel Studios app. It's on a mobile and on TV and Roku and all that fun stuff, because we can talk to you more there and give you more stuff. But for now, if you want people to know, just say, hey, go check it out on YouTube, and that's where you'll see the show.
And it's going to be free on YouTube. Yeah.
Right, it's free there. It's free on Angel Studios app as well. So it's not. That's the nature of how this show is getting distributed. We'll talk more about that on a later live stream. But the show is free. That's the cool part about this setup. Okay, so on this live stream, we've got a special guest coming up here. We're going to talk about a very influential book in the Wingfeather Saga. And then if you have questions about the show, about this investment that's available, if you have questions about how we're making it and all that kind of hit it in the chat with us on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching us, and we'll try to answer those as we go. And we'll do that near the end, okay? Now, we have a cool thing. Next week, we are so excited that we are going to invite you to submit your questions via video, and then we're going to answer them here on the live stream. So next week during our live stream, we're going to answer your questions about Season 1. Now, we're not going to answer questions about book 3 or 4, or just Season 1, which is basically book 1 of the Wingfeather Saga. So if you want to do that, hit us at info@wingfeathersaga.com, and we'll send you a special link that you can load your video to, and then Andrew and I will do our best to respond to it. And if we get some good questions that we can't answer, we'll go invite some guests to come join us and see if they can answer it. I could think of a couple guests that might be experts.
I would say, though, try really hard to not let your questions be spoilers. Like ask questions that are vague enough to where if somebody hasn't read the books yet, it won't give anything away.
That's right. Yep. And if you do, we may end up editing your video to try to only answer the part that doesn't have a spoiler in it. So send us an email, info@wingfeathersaga.com, and we'll respond with a link. You can send us your video question. It'll be super fun. So that's coming up next week. All right. Andrew, we've had a lot of folks talk about what kind of journey they're being invited into. And you and I have talked a lot about this, that, when you start a new television series, like, what am I starting into? I know you talked about you sometimes wait and for like a later season to then see if it's any good. Tell them about what kind of story they're being invited into here with Wingfeather Saga.
Wow, that is a big question. Well, I will tell you, like you were just saying, I don't know if you guys are like me. Like, I love movies, and if it's a good TV show, I love it. I've said for years, like, one of the best feelings at night is when your wife looks at you and says, "Can we watch one more episode?" Because the show is that good that everybody's into it, And so I love this way of telling a story, and that was part of what got us on this journey in the first place. All those years ago, we were talking, and it was like, man, television gives you this opportunity to go really deep. Like, you don't have to, try to squeeze the whole big book into, 90 minutes or 2 hours, or in the case of Lord of the Rings, 10.5 hours or whatever. Like, you can actually, like, really follow the rabbit trails and get to know the characters really, really well. And so from the very beginning, we were leaning hard toward like an episodic, limited series as a way of telling the story of the Wingfeather Saga. And so, that said, one of the things that I love about the way that we've chosen to do this is that we get to start kind of in, I don't want to like riff on Lord of the Rings too much, but I would say it's kind of like we're starting in the Shire, and the best stories do this. It's like you start in this place where things are kind of safe, and the characters their world is relatively small, and then something happens that sets them off on this huge journey. And from the very beginning of working on the books of the Wingfeather Saga, like I knew that book 1 was kind of like the Igiby family is in the Shire, but book 2 and on is going to be them stepping out into the broad world, and the stakes were going to continually get higher. Things were going to go sideways. Characters were going to make decisions that we weren't super excited about, and that we were going to have to deal with the consequences of those decisions. So I love looking at this array of all of these characters and knowing kind of where the story is going for all of them. If any of you guys have read all 4 books, you can look at all of these characters and kind of know their arc. And man, it takes a long time to tell that story, right? And so what the question is, what kind of story we're getting into? On the Edge of the Dark Sea of Darkness is this, the whole thing happens within the confines of the town of Glipwood. And, you know, on the edge of that, there's Glipwood Forest, you know, we've got Ankle Jelly Manor, we've got, you know, the edge of the cliffs and all that kind of stuff. But mostly everything happens kind of right here. And that's season 1. And anybody who's read book 2 knows that it's kind of like Empire Strikes Back. It's like, it's like you've got this contained story, but it's pointing toward the fact that things are going to get intense. So, you know, I'm a child of the 80s, so I grew up with the original Star Wars movies. And anybody my age was deeply influenced by that. But also reading the Narnia
Yeah,
books.
and I don't know that when you started Star Wars, A New Hope, as it's now called, you know, that you had any idea what Luke Skywalker's journey would be. And yet, that first movie was deeply satisfying. I think one of the things that people ask us is, well, we're talking so much about season 2 and how awesome it is. That's true, but you can't go to season 2 without season 1. And we're not throwing shade on season 1, but season 1 is the necessary framework of the relationship with these characters and who they are, so that we can tell you about what they're going to have to go through in season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so we're not. I've had that feedback, like, wait, season 2 sounds like it's amazing. Why are we even doing season 1? Well, that's part of the story. We got to unfold it, you know. And I think, Andrew, one of the things that I've loved about reading your stuff is you tend to love the surprise, like to come in with like, oh, that's pretty cool, and then you unfold something, and there's this like, I had no idea that could happen. In the story. I know just reading it when we read as a family, having that delight at like seemingly, you know, innocuous, fun little story suddenly getting really meaningful and epic, and kind of the stakes being raised and peril. You know, I think somebody recently was saying, oh, it's a fun little kid series. I'm like, okay, kids. I don't know if it's for kids. Like, I have parents ask me, you know, like, should I read this with my little 5-year-old? I'm like, probably a little young. Might want to wait till they're like 8. Yeah. You know, like, because we're getting into stuff, and you really help us kind of process and sad things. Heather, my wife, and I were watching a clip last night of Tink and Janner in a really sweet moment they were having, and she got teary-eyed. She's like, oh, the journey those boys are on. This is going to hurt more because they're so sweet and so together, and when they go through their conflicts and have their hard stuff, it's going to be all the more challenging, you know. And I think that's one of the things I'm excited about in the animated series. Is getting to know these kids, right? And which we are. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I think makes this as a TV show stand out, is that, yes, it's animated. Yes, it's for families, but it's not safe. You know, like it's good, but it's not safe, to steal the Narnia idea. Like, people die, you know, we want this to feel real, and like these kids are real kids. This is a real family on a real journey. And part of that, so it means that it's like we keep pushing for the world to feel real and to feel gritty, and like these are real characters. What would a real kid actually do in this or that situation? We keep pushing at that in the scripting and the storytelling, like so, which I think sets it apart from just some cartoon. You know what I mean? And so when we get to like the big climax of season 1 that we've seen storyboarded and stuff, it's intense. Like, big stuff is going to be happening in episode 6 of season 1, you know? And so I think that hints at the fact that this story is a big story. It's like, it was always meant to be a big story. So anyway, that's how I think of it.
And you said that at the very beginning. I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you talked about that in even drawing this map that I have on the wall over here, you know, of Aerwiar. You know, that was really key for you in building a cohesive world, is that I want to make it feel as authentic and believable. It's why we hired kid actors to play kids, which is risky because they do get older. And if you've read the books, families out there, if you haven't, go read them. Hurry before we release it. But you did a ton of footnotes, and there's references to other histories and other time periods and this sort of thing that really kind of root us in this believability. Talk to me about how that, I mean, was that strategic for you that you knew, I'm going to put this stuff in here to make sure people, buy into the believability of the world?
Yeah, well, that was the thing that, I'm a huge fan of The Lord of the Rings. So one of the reasons I think that story works as well as it does is that it feels like you're reading history. The footnotes, the appendices, the fact that Tolkien worked so hard to build the world and cast this spell, it allows your imagination to kind of like shift into that gear that is you're experiencing the story as if it's something that really happened. And so I had actually been reading a book called Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke, which is this huge, amazing book. But she had footnotes that lasted for pages in that book. And so, did I just lose signal?
You're good. I got you. I can hear you.
It looks like my screen is frozen. Okay, I'm still with you. Anyway, so yeah, but I loved the fact that the footnotes that kind of nodded at other works gave a believability to the story. And so, yeah, anyway, the world building was crucial to me. That there were it's like we've talked before about the fact that, when the camera swings over here, you get the sense that there's stuff that's just off screen. Like the world is a little bigger than the story that we're telling, and so that for me was part of what made me want to have the special guest that we have on the show. I don't know if that's a good segue, but it feels like one.
Yeah, well, so in that, we talk about in the world, there are all these creatures, and Janner, our lead character in our telling in the series particularly, his favorite book is this book that's an artifact. We actually have the real version in the real world here of Pembroke's Creaturepedia. Now, Andrew, do you know Alistair Pembroke? Do you know how this book came to be?
Do I know Alistair Pembroke? Do I ever? So yeah, this book is man, it's such a cool thing to get to do. I loved in the Harry Potter books that J.K. Rowling, she published, what was it, Quidditch Through the Ages, and there were a couple of other extras that ended up getting published. And I just loved the fact that it kind of felt like it was, it deepened the world a little bit. And right out of the gate, Janner references Pembroke's Creaturepedia pretty often. And we had actually come up with this idea as a Kickstarter stretch goal. When my brother and I were cooking up the Kickstarter campaign for book 4, because we were going to try to publish a special hardback edition, put more illustrations in it and all that kind of stuff. And so we met this stretch goal with Kickstarter, and we were thinking, what more can we do, to kind of make this even cooler. And one of those ideas was Wingfeather Tales, and the other one was Pembroke's Creaturepedia. And honestly, I never thought we would reach the stretch goal way back in the day, but we did. And suddenly I was like, I've got to write a book of a Creaturepedia, a compendium of the creatures of Glipwood Forest, or Scree. And so, I remember we were, at the time, Aidan, my son, so I have 3 kids, as some of you know, Aidan, Asher, and Sky, and they were roughly the same ages as the Wingfeather Saga kids, the Igibys in season 1, and when I was writing the books, and so I was, the age range was kind of an homage to my own kids, and so at some point I remember, people have asked me, were your kids involved in the writing of these stories? And they all were in various ways. But my son Asher, who is truly one of the funniest people that I've ever met, one day he was 8 years old, and I was touring, and I got this email from him, or I think it was from Jamie's email account, and he had commandeered her computer, and without any explanation, he'd never done this before. He just sent me an email, and the subject line was poop list, and I opened the email thinking, what is this? And 8-year-old Asher had written this long list of hilarious words like Johannical and Keekle and
Squeeblin. And anyway, I was just like, what is he even doing? I don't know what this even means. And then about an hour later, there was Poop List 2. And there was another list of all these words. So I thought they were so funny. I never understood really why he sent me these words. He was just bored one day. But I put them all in a document, and whenever I needed a word for something, I just went to the Poop List and I would grab one of those words. So that's where some of the names in the Wingfeather Saga came from.
Yeah.
And around the same time, Aidan, my other son, who was 10 or 12, I guess, maybe a little older, he started sending me drawings. And he was drawing from the time he was a little kid. But these amazing drawings, scenes from the Wingfeather Saga, characters. And so I had drawn the Toothy Cow and the Horned Hound and the Bumpy Dig Toad for book 1 and the original editions. And so I was thinking, I'm going to illustrate Pembroke's Creaturepedia. That'll be a fun excuse to sit around and draw a bunch of monsters. And by that time, Aidan was 15 or 16 years old, and he had far surpassed my artistic abilities. And so I just said, hey, you want to illustrate this thing? And he did. So that's the story of how Pembroke's Creaturepedia came to be. And the fun thing was I got to know Alistair B. Pembroke by writing all of the entries. And he became this really fun character that I hope I can go back and write more about Pembroke one of these days.
Yeah, and he's actually got his own little story that Jennifer wrote in Wingfeather Tales, for those that have read that, that gets you to know Alistair a little bit more. Well, today we're super excited to welcome a special guest today that knows a fair amount about Creaturepedia. He's a brilliant illustrator. He's worked on a number of really great books, and is also working on Wingfeather Saga animated series. Everybody please welcome Andrew Peterson. Hello, Aidan.
Hey, happy to be here. What's up?
What's up, man?
How's it going?
Well, so I got to ask right away, have you met Alistair Pembroke? I mean, the kids want to know.
Man, I think he, I basically ghost illustrated for him. He took all the credit.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
So yeah, know him pretty well.
Wow. That's amazing.
I know.
So you've had to draw some of these creatures. I'm curious. I want to see this Bumpy Dig Toad. So let's go to. We've got a Bumpy Dig Toad that Andrew, that I think you said you illustrated first. Let's see if we can pull that up real quickly. And then we have okay. So I think that's the original, right?
Yep.
Yep. And then we have Aidan's version that matured a bit there. Aidan, did you intentionally make the face the other direction just to right away be different?
What's that?
It looks like you flipped the direction just so that you wouldn't have to draw the same profile.
Oh yeah, this was fascinating to try to figure out what the heck was going on anatomy-wise. Taking the original and then thinking about it in the show, like how the heck would this even move and animate? Like who knows where the bones are, and like the fun part about illustrating all of this is that like it is so made up and so wonderful and weird and like but half the time as I'm drawing them, I'm like, what is going on? It's kind of it makes me laugh, and also it does not translate well to animation sometimes, but you make it work.
Well, okay, so can I jump in really quick and say one of your artist mentors and heroes is Justin Gerard, right? Who's an incredible illustrator, and you got to study under him. And one of the things he told you to do is like learn the bones, right? When you're drawing a dragon, you need to kind of know what a dragon skull looks like underneath. And when you draw hands, you got to kind of know how the bones work. And I had never thought of that, looking at the Bumpy Dig Toad. Like, what would a skeleton of a Bumpy Dig Toad look like? Like, if you went to the Smithsonian, and it was like all kind of arranged, it would be so confusing. It would be like somebody put the dinosaur together wrong or something. So well done. And then we had to figure out how to animate one and figure out how does it actually flop around. Anyway, I love that you had to think through that.
So it's interesting. I want you to know we hid how that thing could possibly move around in the teaser. So if you guys watch our teaser trailer, you've seen Bumpy Dig Toad, and we couldn't figure out how the heck it would move around. because it turns, because Jenner comes upon it. So we hid it in the cut, in the edit, because we were like, I don't even know how it moves. And then you have it leak away at the end. It's like, I don't know. Like, do we have a run cycle for that thing? No, we don't. But we know it has a huge tongue.
Yes.
It's so good.
That's good.
Love it. Okay, so there's our Dig Toad. I'm curious, in addition to Dig Toad, Aidan, what was the most challenging creature to capture in illustration, right? You had this description from Alistair about it. What was the most challenging one to get, that you had to redraw the most?
Yeah. The danger of illustration always is you not meeting the expectations of the reader. Like, most of the time, readers have, their imagination is bigger than you can ever try to like wrangle in to an illustration. So as an illustrator, I'm always, trying to find how can I translate these words in a way that does not reduce any of the words at all, and doesn't reduce the imagination of the people reading, but rather like enhances it. And along the same lines, I always find that scary movies, any scary monster or something in movies is way less scary when you can see it than whenever it is hidden from sight or like, it's suggested. So all that being said, the rock roach from the stories is something that is really scary in the descriptions and like just really haunting to me. Like, I remember like visualizing it like from the books when I first heard it. So trying to make that into an illustration that doesn't take away from the scariness or the creepiness, that was probably the one of the more challenging ones in the story.
I agree. I will tell you, when we read those, like trying to imagine that, it just was all scary, right? The Gargan rock roach, right? And like, what is that thing in your imagination? It definitely fills it out.
The fun thing was in the original edition of Pembroke's Creaturepedia, I remember you had illustrated you'd redrawn all the creatures and stuff, and you were kind of like, wait, what is the rock roach even supposed to look like? And I had found this drawing that a kid had given me at a show, and in Syracuse, New York. That's all I remembered. I was playing in Syracuse, and this kid had given me a drawing, and in lieu of Aidan having time to draw the rock roach, I just stuck this kid's drawing in the thing. So the original edition of Pembroke's Creaturepedia has some random kid who I don't think I ever found out who he was. So some kid out there had his drawing in the book, and I gave him some kind of credit. But then when the second edition came around, you had to actually drill down and figure out what does Revenge Rock Roach actually look like. And that ended up being part of the concept art for season 2, right? Did we change much from what you drew in the Creaturepedia to season 2?
I honestly don't know.
Even
I know that.
No.
You don't know.
No.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some small adjustments, but for animation. But it's really the same. So what you did when you finally visualized it, Aidan, is quite convincing, and was able to be used.
That's good.
Okay, so my next question is in that same space. What creature then is your favorite to draw? Which is the one that was like, that was it? Just you were so excited.
Oh man. Well, I love birds. Like, I've found that the character, like Janner, loving field guides and stuff is something that like I can relate to, in that I've always just loved birds and animals, and finding any books at the library that are in that same vein. So all the birds in the book were a blast to draw. Just adding more wings, or just
like with the
trying
Swedish
to
tier.
think of birds that I would, trying to think of stuff that I would want to see, in real life. But what I learned in illustrating Creaturepedia is that like you don't actually have to do that much work to make creatures like absurd and wonderful, and like there is like, I feel like there's stuff in the real world that is like very equivalent to the level of magic of the creatures of Wingfeather. So all I did was kind of stick a couple more wings on some of the birds, and then boom, you're done.
The most famous creature, obviously, in Creaturepedia, the one that everybody talks about, we've even got a shirt with one. Oh, I've got it right here. Is, of course, the infamous Toothy Cow. So there it is. Beware the Toothy Cows, folks. So
Beware.
This one has been drawn a few times. I think we got some versions of that one we can show you. There we go. This one.
So big.
You, Aidan?
So this
Well, that
is
first one was Aidan.
Pops's. Yeah, this is me. And so that was that's the most recent edition, and then that was the first pass.
The first pass one, yeah.
That Pops did. Yeah.
They're all pretty terrifying. And then that matured into the one for the animated series, which, Andrew, we've had some people react like, wait, why does it look like a Chick-fil-A cow? That was always your intention, right? The kind of
That's funny. I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, yes, my mom, kids have asked me this before, but my mom grew up on a dairy farm in South Florida. And so my grandma's house, whenever we went to visit my grandma in South Florida, it was this old dairy farm, and they had Holstein cows, which are those Chick-fil-A cows.
Yeah.
And so I have vivid and terrifying memories of being very up close. There's only a barbed wire fence between me and this beastly cow, and we would feed it oranges that we'd pluck off the orange trees at my grandma's house, and grapefruit and stuff. And so I would watch the thing just like put a whole grapefruit or orange in its mouth and just smash it. And it would, there would be this gush of of juice that would come out of the thing. And I was just like, cows are terrifying. I know they seem kind of dumb, but I grew up reading The Far Side, and I always assumed that they were a little more sentient than we give them credit for. So that's kind of what led to the Toothy Cow.
I love it. So Creaturepedia obviously is the current version out on the market is the Strian edition here. Are there plans for other lands beyond Stree, which is obviously kind of the first territory we began our story in? Are we going to head to Plants? Any place else?
I don't know. What do you think, Eden? Should we?
We'll see where Alistair goes. I think we should.
Yeah, I know. I think it would be really fun to try. Like I realized when we did the first book, it was like, man, that is a lot of work to draw that many animals, to have descriptions, and to have some kind of story. And we weren't able to get to stuff that is in Dang and the jungles of Plants and all that. And so it was like, oh man, we have to stop somewhere. So we just called it the Incomprehensive Strian Edition Volume 1. So it's not comprehensive; it's incomprehensive. And yes, and so Pembroke, he's still alive, obviously, at the end of that book, and so yes, there's a possibility. I would love to try it, and we have some other fun ideas that we're cooking up too. So we'll announce that later.
Now, one of the creatures that I believe, if I understand your story, that would have been named perhaps by Asher is, of course, a Squeeblin, which is the silliest. So I think we have an illustration of a Squeeblin here, and yeah.
Yeah. So this was the
Squeeblin is a liar. Is that right?
Sorry.
Yes, it's a liar. Okay, can I just say really quick? I don't think it's released yet. The audiobook for Pembroke's Creaturepedia is coming out soon. So I actually was in the studio just a few weeks ago reading the audiobook of all of these entries, and I could not stop laughing. Like it feels so dumb to laugh at your own jokes, but like it had been years since I'd written the thing, so I had forgotten all this stuff. But when I got to the Squeeblin entry and the fact that it is a lie, it looks cute, but it's not cute, man. It's dangerous.
Yeah, well, I think it's so. Not to spoil it, but Andrew, our brave kids encounter a Squeeblin, and I believe it's episode 3, maybe. Yeah. And if I recall, Lily says, "Oh, it's so cute." Where Chandler has to quickly correct and say, "No, they're not." There's the
So
current
Aidan,
one.
this
as
is
it
your
looks.
design for the show, right?
Yeah, so this is another one where taking that first that first version and then trying to like wrangle that into something that looks like it could actually function in the real world was a really fun challenge. I should have sent you guys the I have like a pretty detailed anatomy
Yes,
version
you do.
of this where like I have like the bone structure underneath all the fur to try to figure out what
really?
is even happening here. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So-
I didn't
I
know
love the
that.
transition from this version to the new version where it's got those huge eyes, so it just seems even more innocent, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So insolent.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's a liar. You're not trust this Cleveland.
Yeah, David Flew throws in here, Cleveland plush win. Yeah, it'd be funny to make a plush that actually has sharp elements inside of it, so if you squeeze it too hard, it pokes you.
That'd be good.
Or
Oh,
you know,
do not
if
trust.
it was all cute, but you can open it up and they would be just a mouthful of teeth. That would also.
That's
work.
right.
You remember the creatures in the Dark Crystal?
Yeah.
There were these creatures in the Dark Crystal that were like that. That had this,
Yeah.
big mouth. That was a very direct inspiration, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Man, that's fantastic. All right, so if you guys have questions for Aidan or Hollister's secret writer, Andrew, feel free to pop them in the comments here, and we'll try to answer a few of these. I have one question. Was there ever a place where, how did you know when the list was complete? When you'd gotten all the creatures? I mean, was it like so many, did you ever to cull any? Were there some that didn't get included that you were, that fell off the page?
Yeah, there were. I feel like there were quite a few that didn't make it into the thing. We just kind of had to give up because it was exhausting. Like I don't know how many drawings, Aidan? 30 or 40, something like that. It was an insane amount of work.
Well, I think it's close to 60.
Is it really?
Holy
50 or
smokes.
60 creatures. Yeah.
That's a lot of drawings.
Yeah.
And I remember
Yeah.
you had done it when you were 16 or whatever, and then when we had this new Penguin Random House edition that was coming out, I was like, "Hey, we're going to do it," and you just were like, "I've learned a lot since then. Can I please have another shot at this?"
Yeah.
So you had to redraw it,
Yeah.
redesign the creatures.
Well, it's been really like, it's very gratifying as an artist who after a year of like experience and stuff, like you usually don't get to come back to like projects that you've done and like make all the changes that you want to change. But it's been fun like to draw all of these creatures like 3 times and come back at it with a couple more years of experience, and like it's just really fun to still make changes and improve on things, and then the challenge of like what we're talking about, like putting it into this specific like animated world. It's just like such a huge
I would
pleasure.
say you know more about these creatures than any person walking the planet Earth at this point.
You can own that corner.
Seriously, like
right.
more than I do. You know the bone structures, I don't.
We've had fun, and I'll tell the fans at home, in season 1, you're going to see lots of these creatures. So to be clear, so you're going to get a cave blat for sure. I think that's actually in episode 1. Yeah, that's with Tink in episode 1. Coming up in season 2, we're going to get some daggerfish. We definitely have a couple interactions with the quill diggle. We actually we're just
And horned hounds.
Horned hounds, which we're going to
Yeah,
leave secret for a
horned
little bit
hounds
because we can't wait to show you those.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah,
are fun,
they're
Aidan.
cool.
We opted fans to do some ranking. We have a king horned hound, kind of the big guy, and then a regular. So that'll be fun to show them. But we'll save that for later because that guy doesn't show up for a few episodes. So speaking of episodes, one of the comments we've had from people is, so we announced episode 1. Next week during our live stream, we're going to be telling you about when you get to see episode 2. And no, we're not dumping all the episodes at once. They're definitely going to be something you get to get experience over time. But next week, when you tune in to the live stream, we're going to tell you about when episode 2 releases. Episode 1, December 2nd, but episode 2 coming along. And as we make these announcements, we'll tell you a little bit more about that episode, of course, because you'll learn what the title is. So I'm curious if fans are going to figure out, Andrew, what the different titles are. as we go along, because Lily and the Dragon song obviously is the first one. Another thing that's come up, Aidan, and you got to help out when we did the pilot, the little short film pilot years ago, and people have asked, do I need to see that pilot to be ready for the series? And the answer is no. They are separate. The new animated series is all you need. Episode 1 basically replaces the work we did together back in 2017. Yeah, it was funny because you were just really getting going at school then when we worked on that short together. So you've been around this project for a long, long time. What are you working on now? I mean, I know you've got tasked with assignments. You've moved over. I think you're doing more background work. Is that right?
Yeah, right now is several of the Wingfeather staff are friends from school, and I remember during all of school we were like, man, it would be awesome if Wingfeather just got picked up right as we graduated, and it worked out. Like the fact that I get to be doing backgrounds now is really exciting. So yeah, right now episode 3 backgrounds, and me and my wife just chugging along, painting all day.
That's so awesome. It's a family business. I'm so proud of you guys. You and Garrett, obviously our director on the series, has just had a lot of fun working with you. I got to ask the awkward question. Did any of your backgrounds end up in the teaser trailer?
Yes, they did.
Whew. Okay, good.
Yeah. They're very fun to see. Yeah.
It's that weird thing of none of my work ended up in that trailer,
Oh, yeah.
It's in the show for sure. I have a question, Aidan. Would you really quickly? What other projects are you working on, or have you just finished? In addition to the Wingfeather stuff.
Well, last December, the first is called "The Story of God with Us" came out, which is kind of a overarching view. It's by overarching view of the Bible narrative, focused on places in the Bible. Is done by the guys at Wolfbane, and they did a really good job writing it. But that released last December, and I wrapped up earlier this year book 2, which is called "The Story of God Our King," and that's going to be coming out this fall sometime in November. So those are the big things right now.
It is beautiful. I have seen a PDF of the new book, and it's amazing. So proud of you, dude.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Just don't forget who taught you how to draw when you were 5.
I shan't.
Yes.
All right, so Brian, any questions we should answer here quick as we wrap up our time together today with Aidan? And thanks again. Thanks for jumping on here. Here's one. How long are each of the episodes? Andrew, how long are they?
They are about 30 minutes long.
Yep.
Right?
About a half hour.
Between 25 and 30 minutes.
Give or take. I think that's kind of the thing now. It's 26 minutes, 31 minutes, just in that territory. About a half hour. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is fun. Ooh! Yeah, Joseph. Concept art for Ankle Jelly Manor. No, we cannot. Secret. Ankle Jelly Manor and Horn Hounds are both ones we're definitely going to keep secret for a bit, because we really want you to get to experience those. And I know, Aidan, I'm sure you've seen Ankle Jelly and how it developed, but oh man.
It is very cool.
It is very cool, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, Aidan, was it me? We can tell you this, though, that Aidan, you got to be... Didn't you design the statue of the woman swinging the cat?
I didn't design it, but I got to paint it in one of the backgrounds, a couple of the backgrounds. And
yeah, you texted me and you were like, "What is my life?"
I know it. I was kind of laughing the whole time I was painting it. I can't believe that this is my job right now.
Weird statue.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many people on the Wingfeather team? Oh, go ahead, Andrew. Sorry.
No, it's fine. But moving on.
Okay, so how many people? Well, we have this really sweet video that we showed last week. If you haven't seen it, it's so fascinating because this started a year ago with just Andrew and I, 2 guys in Nashville. seeing if we can make a television series. And I think we peaked at 75 on our team. So we have about 20 that are full-time B2s and everybody else that are contract freelancers that work with us. We've hired all of our artists directly. It's really, a lot of production companies like ours will do a certain amount of the work and then they, send it overseas and there's some of the company does the rest of it. But we've actually hired all of our people directly. So our riggers, our texture artists, everything is just directly with us, which is really cool. Our all company times together are really sweet. Everybody's just so excited about what we're making here together. So yeah, about a little over 70 on that team. That's great. Are there going to be any maps of Aerwiar for part of the merchandise? Well, there definitely is a legendary map of Aerwiar, which is on. We should think about an updated version. Kind of see if there's a 2022 version of that. Be fun to do.
You can get a map now.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess a good question too. Who might design that map? I don't know. We'd have to probably have a bit of a competition.
If only we knew some artists.
Yeah.
But you can.
We could definitely
can order. I'm pretty sure in the Router store you can order the map now. I think it's there.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I think the Router store still does have it.
But we should update it for sure.
That's good. Cool. Oh, hello, Ella. Will there be more songs to learn? I love Jurgen's tune, and my love has gone across the sea. That's what that means, in case you're wondering. Yeah.
Molgats.
Will there be more songs, Andrew?
Yeah, all of the books have songs in them. Those songs have not yet been put to music, but like Jurgen's tune, it's interesting. I'm a little nervous about it because we've got to figure out like what is the song of the Ancient Stone sound like, and there's like songs that play these really key parts in the series as it goes. That it's easy to just bang out some lyrics in a book, but we've got to figure out how to compose them. So I would say yes, there will be more songs, but it's on down the road.
Well, and already episode 1, we have a new song that you wrote. That is a song.
Oh yeah.
From Amira that Armelin sings.
Yep. It's called "The Green of Risen Hill," and yeah, we needed because Armelin the Bard at Dragon Day, he's singing, having his little concert, and it's like, oh, that's right, it's a TV show. We can't just say he was singing. We have to actually have a song that he's singing. And so so I was like, I guess I got to write one. So I wrote that, and I think I sang it, right? So I know I sang it, and I think my voice
is your voice.
The one that's in Armelin's mouth.
Yep, because Dave, Mullins, who plays Armelin, did not want to sing. And so we said, great, well, Andrew, you guys sound pretty similar. It's interesting. So we just, last week, folks, after we finished, we have since now recorded with Jodie Benson, of course, who plays Nia, for My Love Has Gone Across the Sea, which will make an appearance in season 1, and with Romy, who plays Lily, for the Dragon Song Jurgen's tune that you hear in episode 1. And Andrew, did you see it? We just sent a link for that. I got to hear episode 1, her singing. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's great.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I can't wait. So yes, music is, of course, always a big part of the series. Is some of the most special magic that we have.
Somebody asked, when did you start drawing, Aidan?
I started, probably 10 years old or so. I remember, I remember watching you draw the snake buzzard at the breakfast table, and just being mesmerized by that, and being thinking, oh, I want to go do that right now. And for a very long time, I've just kind of known this is what I want to do.
I remember one of the key moments for you is sitting down with Tom Bancroft at Macaroni Grill. Remember that story?
So, yeah, Pops, he had a character design gig for Tom Bancroft. So I had shown some interest in art, and he brought me along just because he thought I might think the meeting was interesting. So they're just going to sit down and talk about the project. And I don't remember what they talked about during the meeting, but I do remember at one point Tom Bancroft, he drew Mickey Mouse on the tablecloth, because at Macaroni Grill they give you like the paper tablecloth and crayons to draw with, and so he just drew Mickey Mouse right in front of me, and like Mickey Mouse wasn't there, and then he was there, and it blew my mind, the fact that you could just make something come to life like that. And like that's the moment where I was just like, well, I know what I'm gonna do. And so the crazy thing is that he actually, 10 years later, when I went to college, he started an animation program at Lipscomb, and like I had him as a professor. It came very full circle, and it's weird to see like all of my friends and stuff working for him and everything. But
yeah, that's cool.
Do you still have that Mickey Mouse?
No, I'm not sure what happened to it.
I think we might have it in a box somewhere. I think we might still have it. That would be fun to find. But yeah, it was funny. I was just sitting there eating macaroni grilled bread, and you were having a life moment.
Yeah, an epiphany.
That's nice.
Awesome. Last question, I think. We're planning to host an IRL watch party. What Wingfeathery snack should we be getting in? Okay, so we have released a couple recipes of gooey blueberry balls, I think is one, and then we just did honey muffins a couple weeks ago. So watch our socials and on YouTube, and we actually have a whole line of recipe stuff that we're going to release for you that you should definitely.
Cheesy chowder?
Yes, cheesy chowder for sure. Yep. Yeah, so there's a whole run. Emily was sending me a list of the ones they're going to put out there. Recipe cards. So, and if you have a recipe of something you've made that you think is inspired by Wingfeather you want to share with us, please do. Just we've got a Wingfeather Saga official fan group on Facebook you can send it to, or email it to us and we can share it here. But either way, it's super fun. All right, Aidan, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us today. Get back to work.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes.
Good to see you, man.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
See you.
All right, folks, next week, Andrew and I are going to try to respond to questions you have about Season 1. So, again, no spoilers, but if you have a question, send in a video. And so what you're going to do is email us at info@wingfeathersaga.com and tell us, hey, I want to submit a video, and we'll send you a link that you can upload that video of yourself asking us a question. And we will answer all your questions about Season 1. So whatever you have that we can't spoil, we'll give it a shot. Yeah, that'll be fun next week. Once again, we are live with our offer. If you'd like to invest in our company, we're making this series and we're going to keep making it beyond Season 1 into Season 2 and forward. We've got one little window of investment. If you guys want to be a part of that, it's out there at angel.com/wingfeather. We're closing in on our first $1 million. Oh, we crossed over while we were here, 900,000 in a week. That's amazing. That'll be open through the end of the month. It closes August 31st, and it will help us to get deep into Season 2 as we finish Season 1 and release that. And then, so that's that offer if you want to be a part of this series and own a share and go along the journey with us in taking this thing global. Speaking of global, Andrew, so we've been talking to friends in Brazil. Wingfeather Saga has been in Brazil for about a year. And of course, it's about to launch in South Korea. That the series is just released there. Have you seen a book cover for that one? I'm so curious.
Amazing. I have seen it, and it is so cool. So South Korea, Portugal, Brazil, Hungary. It's been translated into Hungarian, Norwegian, and Swedish translations of the story. Isn't that amazing?
That's so cool.
So yeah, I can't wait. It's so cool, and I can't wait for the show to kind of like spill into all of these places.
Exactly. So we've already. I don't know if I told you this, Andrew. We're in conversations with people to help us do dubbing, so we can get it translated as soon as Season 1's available. Because there are these international. So like in our little pitch video, y'all, if you heard the Wingfeather go global, like really, there are certain stories that can do that, and this story is one of those because it's not an American story. So American stories that kind of have a hard time finding international audiences. This one has not. It definitely has international appeal. It's the kind of abstract fantasy that does really well. And because of the nature of yes, there is redemptive and faith elements, but they're deep in the story. They're not the overt kind. It means that there's lots more places that people will read it and just enjoy the kind of wonderful characters and epic storytelling that we get to be a part of. So yeah, super excited about where the animated series goes, following the books and helping the books to find more homes. And it's just kind of this wonderful relationship they get to have. So yeah, this is awesome. All right. Well,
I don't envy the translators having to translate Squeedling and
what does that even mean?
Johannical. I know. I have had the most interesting conversations with translators who emailed me to kind of need clarification about words. So the folks that are translating they have a tough job, and they're doing a really great job. But yeah, I can't wait to watch the closed caption version of the show. I hope they spell Squeedling right.
That'll be fun. We get to watch the dubbed version with subtitles. I love that. That'd be fantastic. Yes. Hey, folks, if you want to keep up
so much for your support. It's been a great ride.
Yeah, and if you want to keep up with this, be sure that visit wingfeathersaga.com, and it'll pop up, and you can make sure that you have your email in there. That's our best way to communicate to you. If you're not subscribed or following us on YouTube, definitely do that. Hit that subscribe button. That's going to be our number one way to keep up with you. Yeah, thank you so much for all your support of our teaser trailer that came out last week. And so to end our time together, we thought we'd finish on a bang, and we'll end with our teaser, and we will see you next week. Andrew, good to see you. Thanks for joining, man. See you all next time.
You too. Thanks, everybody.
What are the rules when you're in town?
Stick together, be polite. When things are mad, stay out of sight.
We are truly indebted to our brave and magnanimous host.
Tink, you can't just run off.
Rumor is, Black Carriage took 3 children last month.
When you ran off, I had to leave Lily alone. Lily? Lily?
Peaceably, so pluck your feathers.
Where'd she go?
Understand me, boy.
We have to get out of sight, now!